Big companies' emissions goals fall short of global climate targets, report finds. By Simon Jessup, April 9, Reuters. A recent report by the nonprofit New Climate Institute and Carbon Market Watch has brought to light a significant disparity between the carbon emissions reduction targets set by major companies and the ambitious goals required to combat global warming effectively. The findings of the report underscore a concerning trend among the largest listed companies, indicating a failure to adequately address the most pressing challenges posed by climate change. The study, which examined emissions reduction commitments from 51 prominent companies, revealed that these firms collectively aim to reduce their emissions by an average of 30% by the year 2030. However, this target falls short of the 43% reduction deemed necessary to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, 2.7 Fahrenheit, by the year 2050, as outlined in the Paris Agreement. While there have been some improvements in emissions reduction targets over the past 2 years, with 19 firms showing progress, the report identified several key shortcomings. Many companies' targets were criticized for being ambiguous or restricted to only certain parts of their business operations. Furthermore, a reliance on offsets rather than direct emissions reductions resulted in effective targets as low as 5% to 20%, significantly undermining the overall impact of these initiatives. Despite these challenges, certain companies stood out as leading performers in the realm of emissions reduction. Companies such as Mars, in the food sector, H&M Group, in retail, and energy giants Enel and Iberdrola have committed to substantially higher reductions, ranging from 50% to 64%. These companies serve as examples of the potential for ambitious climate action within the corporate sector. Frederick Hans from the New Climate Institute emphasized the critical importance of aligning emissions reduction targets with the latest climate science and implementing credible measures to achieve them. However, he expressed concern over the lack of commitment and urgency exhibited by many companies in this regard, particularly given the urgency of the climate crisis. Scientists have repeatedly emphasized the need to have global emissions by the end of the decade to achieve the long-term goal of net zero greenhouse gas emissions by mid-century. Nevertheless, last year witnessed record-high emissions and average temperatures, highlighting the urgent need for more aggressive action to curb climate change. The report also shed light on the inadequacy of governments' current pledges, as outlined in their Nationally Determined Contributions, NDCs. These pledges leave the planet on track for warming of 2.5 to 2.9 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with potentially catastrophic consequences such as widespread flooding, prolonged droughts, and devastating wildfires. Benja Fex from Carbon Market Watch emphasized the need for more effective climate regulation, stressing that civil society, investors, and governments rely on transparent and credible rules to distinguish genuine transition plans from inadequate ones susceptible to greenwashing. This report, the third iteration of the NGO's Corporate Climate Responsibility Monitor, underscores the urgent need for ambitious and credible emissions reduction targets within the corporate sector. Without decisive action from both companies and governments, the world risks failing to address the most severe impacts of climate change, with far-reaching consequences for ecosystems, economies, and communities worldwide.